Hello, everyone. My name is Bob Brocker. I'm the founder and president of AgeWise Colorado, and welcome to this webinar on fall prevention in your home. I'm going to share my screen for a moment. We're in year five since we started doing these webinars, and I think we've done maybe 100 or so by now on a wide variety of topics. This is our contact information. Our speakers today are here. Introduce them as we go. But Marissa Webb with Web Architecture and Design, and Paul Coleman and Cassandra are both with True Blue Home Service Ally, but they each have different territories. And they're going all of them are going to be talking about how to make your home more safe and to prevent falls. And then I would ask everybody to please have if you're not a presenter, to please mute and have your camera off during the presentations. We do encourage questions. You can put those in the chat. And if we have time, we'll have some time at the end, maybe for verbal questions. So with that, I'm going to introduce Marissa first. And Marissa is going to be talking about what she does as an architect related to helping people with preparing their homes to prevent falls. So go ahead, Marissa.
Okay, so as Bob said, I'm Marissa Webb, licensed architect in Littleton and a proud AgeWise Colorado provider. My practice is built around one goal, and that's helping you stay in the home that you love. As a certified aging in place specialist and a certified passive house designer, I look at every home through two lenses. The human lens, this is how the home works for the person living in it, safety, circulation, accessibility. And the building lens, this is how the home performs as a building, thermal comfort, air quality, and structure. After all, a safe home isn't just one without trip hazards. It's one that's comfortable, healthy, and built to last. After 20 years of doing this work, here's what I've learned. The barrier is almost never the house itself. Usually there's more potential than people realize, but sometimes the honest answer is that the house has real limits, and knowing that early is just as valuable as knowing what's possible. So the thing I really want you to take away today is that you don't always need more space, you need better space. Most fall hazards are design problems in disguise. The photo on the right is one from one of my projects, and I'll tell you more about it in a minute, but what you're seeing is backlit lighting behind the mirror, which creates a soft ambient light that guides you to the bathroom at night without waking you up. Not a medical feature, just good design. The small stuff doesn't stay small. And I'm off my slides. Stairs are a good example. They're fine until they're not. A knee injury, a bad hip, a health change, suddenly the layout of your home is working against you. But it's not just stairs. The bathroom door that barely clears the vanity, everyone just learns to turn sideways. The light switch on the wrong side of the room, so then you're crossing at night to turn it on in the dark. People adapt to these things for years without realizing they've been living with a hazard. So if you haven't planned for that, you're reacting, and reactive renovations are expensive, rushed, and stressful. So the most expensive home projects are the ones done reactively. A strategy made before a crisis gives you control over the timeline, the budget, and the outcome. Why does this matter? A good assessment gives you the full picture first. Every change is intentional and nothing gets done out of order. Most people start with a fix, the grab bar, a ramp, a new light fixture. Those things do matter. But if you haven't looked at the whole home first, you end up with isolated improvements that don't connect. You spend money and still feel like the house is working against you. So this assessment that I'm going to talk about changes that. You leave with a clear picture of what your home needs in what order and what is actually capable of becoming. The goal is a home that works so well the fall risk is designed out, not just managed. So this brings me to the future ready home assessment that I do. A safety checklist tells you what's broken. An architectural diagnostic tells you why and what to do about it in the right order. So on the right, you can see the 17 areas that I evaluate, 13 through the human lens and 4 through the building lens. The human lens is probably what you'd expect. The entry, exterior access, interior circulation, stairs. I'm looking at how you move through your home every day and where the friction is. For fall prevention, the building lens might not seem as obvious, but it's cold floors. When floors are too cold, you reach for socks or slippers, and now traction becomes a problem. When you're navigating stairs with pets underfoot, the conditions um, aren't ideal. You don't want a surface that doesn't feel secure. The physical conditions of your home affect the choices that you make every day, and some of those choices can create risk. So everything gets organized into a written professional roadmap, a clear plan, not just a list of things to worry about. The roadmap gets put into 3 tiers. So think of it as your action plan from what you can do this weekend to what might need an architect. Tier 1 are things you can do yourself, adding motion activated lighting on the path to the bathroom. Remove all your throw rugs. Clear thresholds between rooms. Add non-slip stair treads to your stairs. Those are small changes that don't cost much and they can make a real difference. Tier 2, this is where you might need someone who knows what they're doing. So, my co-presenters, grab bars installed into structural blocking, not just drywall, handrails on both sides of the stairs, lever hardware on doors instead of round knobs, and maybe better entry and walkway lighting. The list can go on and on. These things matter enormously when done right. So tier 3 is my lane. This is where you bring in an architect, a simple fix that won't solve the underlying problem. A bathroom door that barely clears the vanity, that's a layout issue, not a hardware issue. A bedroom only accessible by stairs, there may be a better solution entirely. An entry that needs to be completely rethought. These need spatial strategy and a set of drawings before anyone picks up a tool. So let me tell you about the project that I mentioned. This was for a client in her 70s that had hurt her knee, and the stairs had become a real barrier. Not impossible, but hard. She also had 3 senior labs, so a lot of pets underfoot. She was sleeping in a sunroom on her main level where she had put a bed in, and it was a little too hot in the summer and a little too cold in the winter. And she didn't want to be doing that, but because the stairs to the bedroom had become too much, she didn't have a choice. So this was a historic home, and we needed to work within the existing footprint. So she had a dining room that she never used and a room to the north that was essentially just a pass through. And that was the opportunity that we took to move her bedroom into that north room to create a cooler, quieter room perfect for sleeping. And then we converted the adjacent dining room into a bathroom and a dressing area. So she kept everything else she loved on the main floor, her kitchen, her library, her living room. And then it finally made sense for her. It worked for her. We added things like the backlit lighting and then grab bars where they made sense. Nothing looked too clinical, and the home finally worked the way it should for her. She's still mobile and living independently, but she doesn't have to think about the house anymore. It's just working for where she is right now and wherever she goes next. So the bigger picture, fall prevention is really just one layer, but a home that truly supports you long term is doing more than preventing falls. It's performing on every level. So these are the 4 things that I consider a future ready home. You're able to stay independent. Your home adapts to you. 0 entry showers, wider doorways, universal design that's done well, and it's invisible. Stay comfortable. Your home working as a complete system. That means steady indoor temperatures, clean air, and it's quiet. A home that's uncomfortable to be in is one that you avoid, and avoidance creates risk. So if you're rushing through a cold hallway at night, that's a building performance problem as much as a safety problem. Stay connected. This is flexible, multi-generational layouts like main floor suites and ADUs. The moves that keep generations close with real privacy. Having someone nearby really matters more than most people plan for. Stay resilient. in Colorado, we really need to adapt our homes to UV light and freeze-thaw cycles and wildfire smoke, unfortunately. So a home that holds up to our real conditions holds up for you. So before any project begins, any tools are picked up, I want you to ask these questions. Are the grab bars going into blocking or just drywall? Drywall alone won't hold under real load, so specifically ask if it's going into framing. Is the handrail continuous and graspable? A lot of handrails are just decorative, and you need one that can wrap your hand around and be continuous from the top step to the bottom without letting go. Most homes don't have that. In fact, mine doesn't actually. Will this fix the problem or just cover it up? Make sure you're solving the right problem before you spend money on a solution. Is there a layout change that would make this room work? Sometimes the issue isn't the fixtures, it's the room itself, and that would need an architectural solution. What order should these projects happen in? This is the one that most people skip, and it's the most expensive mistake. Sequence matters immensely. These are the questions I ask on every assessment, and they're the questions you should start asking now before you spend a dollar. The right questions save more money than the right contractor. So before I hand this over to my co-presenters, I just want to say thanks to Bob and AgeWise Colorado for having me. And these are the kind of conversations that matter, and I'm so grateful to be a part of it. If any of this is landing for you and you want to think about your home differently, please get in touch, scan the QR code, or find me on the AgeWise directory. So thanks so much. I appreciate you having me.
What typically triggers a call to you?
It's usually someone who needs something done rather intensely. I guess, it's not just the small things that someone like, you know, my co-presenters are doing, but they want to stay in their home. They want to stay in their home and they need it to change for them. And so, but I do find that if they're not planning ahead, like the whole presentation says, it becomes much more expensive and then much more necessary. And it gets a little, I think, frustrating at times. So I'm not sure if that really answered your question, but it's life changes, and I'm trying to get in front of that and help people think about it a little bit differently and maybe plan ahead so that it's not so costly and that it's not a rushed decision. So
Hey, Marissa, I would say I would use a person like you and actually have somebody I'm partnering with to co-partner with me when projects get big, right? Like bringing in my architect friends to help me with that stuff when it's bigger than just simple grab bars. So I see
for sure.
a
Thank
great
you.
partnership there.
Okay. But I think that the keywords that you mentioned are planning and prevention, and so don't wait until something bad's happened, and then now we have to fix it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you again. Okay, so Paul, you're up next. Paul Coleman with True Blue. So
Yes, hello everybody, and thank you, Bob, for inviting me to speak. So I have a True Blue company. It is for Denver Metro North. So we basically do everything from Washington Park to the north. And there are three ways of fixing your home so it's safe for seniors. And one is do it yourself. And then you can also hire what's called a chuck in the truck. And then you can also hire an experienced company with 5 stars that offer warranties and are insured. And I represent the last of those three. About 1 out of 3 jobs, handyman jobs, are not completed. And actually about 1 out of 3 jobs is where we have to come in and help somebody who started the project on their own or hired someone who didn't do the entire job or maybe just ghosted the people. So be really careful and do your homework when you're hiring a handyman. Now, most of our calls for seniors and modifying senior homes comes from families that actually live in other states. They'll be calling in from Ohio or California or Texas, and they're concerned about their grandparents or parents that live in the Denver area. And they want to be sure that the house is appropriate for the parents or grandparents having an independent life in their own homes. So we do offer a service that is called Handyman for a Day, because not everyone has a large project, such as building a ramp. And my handymen are here in this picture. That's me in the front with the beard. And then I have other of my technicians there, Carl, Andrew, Audric, and we have actually many more at this point. And we will come in, and I can just give you an example of a handyman for a day job that we did recently. We went into a home and we secured the handrails. We put in brighter lights above the stairs. We put in door stoppers that actually worked. We also put in grab bars in the bathroom, and then we put in non-slip luxury vinyl plank in the bathroom. So these small things just made the house more secure, and the families that are in other states felt better about that. Another thing that we've offered families with seniors here in Colorado is a maintenance plan where we come in once a season and we will then check on the filters and make sure that there are no leaks, especially, for example, behind a fridge, one of those little tubes to the ice maker can leak and cause tremendous trouble. So that's another great service that helps seniors stay in their homes. Now, in terms of fall prevention, whenever we go in, we look for trip hazards such as clutter. Also, as Marissa had mentioned, rugs. Make sure you remove any of those rugs or tape them down in the corners so you don't stumble over them. We also look to secure handrails or install handrails or grab bars. We also want to mention that you want to make sure that any kind of canes and walkers are available. So if you want a little type of a container for your canes, we'll put them in the strategically correct places. And then you want to make sure that your footwear is sturdy and that you have access to the appropriate footwear. We've also raised some toilets and we've lowered kitchen shelves. It's just easier to get on your toilet if it's a little higher. We even have installed raised toilets with bidets to help the seniors stay clean. And we've also put in shower chairs in the shower so that you don't have to stand. And a very important thing is to put in that non-slip tile or non-slip LVP in the bathrooms. So these are some of the things, and just to repeat that, we do have that handyman for a day service, and we also have that seasonal maintenance plan that can help seniors. And I want to thank Bob for inviting me, and age-wise, you're doing great work here in Colorado, and I'll be happy to take questions now or afterwards.
Okay. Thank you, Paul. And I will add here that I've actually used Paul's service at my own home. The guys came in and did a great job, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And no, I didn't get a discount. So yes,
You got a discount.
but well worth it. And so I'm gathering that a lot of the work involves preparing bathrooms to be safer. Not exclusively by any means, but safer anyway. And I've read about this thing, some kind of a hinge that allows your door to open up a little bit more. Could you tell us more about that?
Yes, that's interesting you mentioned that, because we're actually putting that in for a client right now where her husband is sometimes using a wheelchair, sometimes walking a little bit himself into the shower. And there wasn't just enough room for a sliding door, because a sliding door only gives you half the space. And then they asked about French door, but a French door takes up a lot of space when you open it in the bathroom. So there is this kind of door where you can almost like a folding door that then opens up the entire space, but doesn't take a lot of space inside the bathroom. And this way, both her husband and she can get into that shower area, and she can help him wash himself. So that is a great type of shower door to put in for a senior home. The other thing is that we have put in what I call no curb showers. So if they do have a wheelchair, or if they can't lift their leg very much, they can get into that shower much more easily. And that seems to be a very, very popular service.
Okay. Thanks, Paul. Oh, thank you. So Cassandra, are you ready to go?
I'm here.
All right.
All right, I'm going to share my screen. I don't have much because I feel like I'm taking the third in a row presentation, and it's going to be a lot of what everybody has said. So what Paul and Marissa have said. So I will just add to some of this as well. But first, let me introduce myself. So I'm Cassandra Bottoms. I'm the owner of the True Blue in Denver West, Denver South, and Lakewood. So if you think about most things west of I-25, south of Arvada, and before you get to Parker. So there you go. They're my geographical location for everyone on the call. And I'll just kind of preface that everything that Marissa and Paul have shared today is spot on. One of the things that I have recently done for my team is I have undergone a certification called Certified Aging in Place Specialist, which was an opportunity, in my opinion, I loved this opportunity to spend about 4 days with not just other contractors, but also OTs and PTs and architects, and really coming together for 4 full days and thinking about modifications for homes. One thing that I was challenged in thinking about is that we age in place from the day we come home from the hospital. So as a baby, our parents are, modifying the home to keep us safe. And as we grow, we consistently are doing things for ourselves to make sure it's safe. We can get around. And so really being challenged to think about how am I supporting every person that comes through my phone or who wants an assessment done, and thinking about them in every stage of their life. Today, tomorrow, and maybe even if there's other people within that home that are impacted. So whether you've got multi-generational or anything of that nature. And so to me, that has been eye-opening in thinking holistically about how we're supporting many, many people within this community. So like I said, I had a couple slides, and I will go ahead and share that just so you can see my pretty slides, I guess.
Okay.
But I will share this because there's a couple photos that I found. Actually, let me make sure I'm putting this in presentation mode. Impactful as I think about what me and my team have been doing. So as Marissa kind of mentioned, there's so much statistics out there about things that are going on. And, I even heard more yesterday that kind of was mind-blowing, that by 2030, there will be more people over 65 in the US than there are people who are under 18. So this population needs our support significantly. And then if you know that 1 in 4 people will fall each year and that most of them are heading not back home, to me, this is something that it's not solvable for everybody, but there's a lot of people on this call who care and that can do a lot for this population. And I would say even younger populations, we're not all 65 when we fall and have, needs for any modifications. So the one thing I just want to kind of preface or kind of dig into a little bit more that Paul mentioned is, so I mentioned that I have that certification. I hold that certification for my entire team, which is what that means is I'm going into homes and doing a 70-point inspection or 75 points, which I think is very in line with what Marissa was saying, is coming in and really having that heart-to-heart conversation about somebody's holistic day. Where are you having trouble getting to? Tell me about your day. Like how often are you in the kitchen? Where are you going upstairs, downstairs? And looking at it from an end-to-end perspective. I have a little assessment sheet. I think they're probably very similar across the board because collectively we're looking at the same places. I've also taken on quite a few patients who were looking at it from dementia, or we're looking at it from Parkinson's. So things that maybe are impacting today, but what about in 2 years, in 3 years, in 4 years? And I will say the one other thing I want to really preface is that the person we're typically in the home to help isn't the only one living there. So I have a patient right now who we spent 2 hours talking about his wife's Parkinson's and how we're going to navigate her through the house. And then I quickly stopped and I said, well, what about you? You are her caregiver. If you were to fall and slip in your own bathroom, how are we making sure that you're okay? Because she can't call. She can't call somebody to get help for you. And so it is a holistic conversation that I'm having with my clients and making sure that we're sitting down. And whether it's a cup of tea, I have a 92-year-old who insisted that I have a glass of wine with her. I didn't tell her no, but just really thinking about everybody holistically throughout their house. And so one thing that I'll mention, and these were a couple things that I'm maybe just really push hard. And Marissa mentioned it, grab bar placement is huge. I will not put a grab bar in unless I know it can be secured. We have a lot of really creative ways of getting people to have things done in their homes that don't cost a ton of money. And when it does become something big, I am a proponent, and I will tell every homeowner that I'm bringing in either an architect or a structural engineer, depending on what we're doing, to make those modifications that are probably beyond the scope of me just coming in saying we're gonna, widen the door 36 inches or we're gonna put in a raised toilet. But all of these things on my list have, I think, been mentioned from my previous presenters. But I think a couple things I also just want to remind everyone is, and Marissa did a great job of this, is not everything is a big cost. Some of these are very small. I've talked to homeowners I've told them if I can't see your home address from outside, neither can EMT. So let's go ahead and cut back those tree limbs. Let's go ahead and maybe get you a brighter sign that says your address of 311 whatever, and just talk to them about those things. And so when I walk out of a home, it is not necessarily fully that there's some big modification or priority that we need to do today. But as mentioned, really prioritizing what the path to safety is. And some of it is small, some of it is an Amazon purchase, and then some of it is those bigger things. And we really want to assess, is this house going to be something you want to spend the money in, or is there alternatives to the next stage of life? And I also bring that up because I think there's a missing component sometimes that this population needs a holistic view of their life. Are we bringing in, as contractors, as architects, those other partners at times that can help when it's out of our scope? So are we bringing in those, downsizers that help them kind of re-downsize the amount of clutter in that house? That's not going to be my team, but do I have a partner who's helping bring that in? And that to me is hugely important, and something I've been working on for probably the last 8 months is creating those holistic teams that when I walk into a home, if it's not my solution, I've got the solution for them. So as I'm kind of just moving through this, I brought up a couple, I was brought up a couple times prior, and I had and I'll just kind of give a story, and then I can pause, but we had a homeowner who was 93 years old, and the call I got was they want a bathroom renovation. So I went out to the home and I quickly assessed just by the state of the home. It had never had a remodel done. He's 94, and having a true conversation, really getting to know this client, it had nothing to do with wanting a remodel. He was afraid to shower. He didn't know what to do. He stopped showering about 5 days prior. And when it came down to a full remodel, nobody needs a $20,000 remodel so they can feel safe showering. We ended up walking out of there, and it's really the picture on the right. That's not his house, I promise, because you're like, that's a remodel. But what we ultimately ended up doing was putting a grab bar in, putting some handrails on the toilet, and putting a tub cut in. We walked in and out of that house in under a day for $1,500. This was not $20,000 wasted on a family that doesn't need to spend that money. And he was able to shower the very next day because it was safe. And I would think that hopefully everyone on this call is really thinking about not what's making us the most money or how are we doing something that's best interest for us, but truly solving the problem the client is asking us to solve, but listening to them. And that to me is a great example of not coming in for the $20,000 bathroom, but coming in and solving a problem. Even if it did cost that, we were solving the right problem and not just what we assume is the problem. The picture in the middle is some creativity. So there are so many products out there in the world that are helping people still live a normal life. And this is another great example of one of my Parkinson's families. Her walker does not fit through her closet. We are not going to widen the doors at this point. That's not the solution today. Could be tomorrow, but she's able to make it to that bar you can see in the middle. It rotates with her so she can walk the whole closet, but have something to securely hold on to, but be safe doing it. And so this to me is an easy solution that I think cost $300 to install and buy, but weren't widening doors and made her feel comfortable and safe getting into her closet. And the last picture, and I don't know how I have before, during, and after, that's just my fault of not taking that off. But the picture on the left is something that I also, again, I'm always thinking creatively of how to solve problems that don't cost a ton of money, but also don't modify homes to a level that nobody really wants. This is a very, very expensive shower that was one piece of marble. Nobody really wants to drill grab bars into one slab of marble. So I've partnered with a German company who has an adhesive that can hold 300 pounds, and it's a no drill grab bar. ADA approved. And I only bring this up because as we are in this space, the world is ever changing with what modifications can be done. Some are good, some are bad, but I think as we all have ownership in helping this population, to me, looking at creative solutions, I love, and finding it for homeowners without having to do really, really expensive changes if that's not where they are today. So I say all of this because I'm super passionate about finding solutions, helping our aging population, but doing it in a way that makes sense for them, but bringing those partners where we need those partners, and having the education. I keep telling every networking and business group I go to, it's let me educate, because education is the first key to helping us all stay safe in our homes, regardless of what age we are. So I will stop there. I don't think I have any more that hasn't already been covered by my other co-presenters, but just happy to answer questions or talk through anything and be here.
Okay. Thank you, Cassandra. Would both you and Paul put your contact info in the chat as well, please?
Yes.
And I have a question actually for both of you. I've met each of you, so I know you came from a different background, and totally different background than what you're doing today. And so what drove you to decide on True Blue as opposed to any other type of handyman service that you might have wanted to get involved in?
I'll go first. So for me, I have had the fights with many of the elderly family members in my house that do not live near me about I'm not moving, I'm not leaving, but you're not close to help. And if I can't do that or be there for them, I can be there for somebody else. And I do believe that this is not a solvable, but I do believe that helping an underserved population is probably what I was meant to do always. And so True Blue was giving me the tools to do it. So that's mine.
Okay, thank you.
So I joined this because we were looking at different kinds of franchises, and both my wife Danny and I have had to take care of our grandparents and parents and dealt with all of these different kinds of problems that now we are solving for other people. So in some sense, this job, this company was not just a way to make money, but it was a way to help people. And it's more than just a job, it's actually a mission. I think Cassandra would agree to that. It's a mission to help these people who are not many times getting the attention they need, and from the expertise that we can bring to the table so that they can live safely and independently in their homes for many more years than going to assisted living.
Okay. So what I'm hearing from all three of you actually is you have a passion for what you're doing. Otherwise, you wouldn't be doing it. So, yeah, you could be doing other things. So we appreciate that, and I think as time goes on here, we learn about more and more people who have that level of commitment to helping people to age in their homes, or if that's no longer possible, somewhere else. But yes. So at this point, I'd just like to, open it up for any questions from any of the audience members here today. And you can take yourself off mute, and if you have a question, just go ahead and ask. Um, and if not, that's okay too. But I okay.
I just want to mention that, I've had my own properties for many years. I've actually been doing handyman and maintenance work for 35 years. I was actually a U.S. diplomat, but before I was that, I was taking care of my properties, and that taught me a lot. But now that I've hired very professional remodelers and handymen, I see that my knowledge is limited because these guys do amazing work. And one of the criterion of having these boys come on board is that they need to be sensitive to the needs of seniors and be willing to help and get satisfaction from helping people. And that drives a lot of them too, to make sure the job is done right and that it is up to the standard of our customers. And sometimes that makes it a little bit more expensive for me because you got to add another day to a job or something, but I don't say anything because I want them to do it right, and I want also the satisfaction that they get and I get by knowing that we've done a great job and made the life for the senior much more convenient and easier.
Thanks, Paul. Cassandra, I have a question. I want to go back to the thing you mentioned about the CAPS certification.
Yeah.
So you said 4 days.
Yes, there was 3 full days of classroom, and then there was a few of us who followed up together to kind of finish what we couldn't finish during class time because we were all so frustrated we didn't get our plans built.
Okay.
Yes.
So who does those certifications?
So it's actually through the National Home Builders Association. So it's a certification that is now recognized by anybody building a home to make sure that it is ADA compliant with just about every disability almost that you can think of, from blind to wheelchair to any of the degenerative diseases.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Interesting.
Boy, did I get challenged by some PTs.
Say that again.
I said, boy, did I get challenged on my thought with some PTs, but it's a great partnership. They
Uh-huh.
understand the physical elements more than I do.
All right. That's great. Didn't know that. Okay. So if there are no other further comments, I'm going to let everybody go. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, Bob.
Bob.
Thank you for
Thanks so much.
organizing this.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.